Hi, this is Jeff, and this is Article of Faith number 25, Property Rights of Christians. And this is another one of those quirky ones. You wouldn't think property rights would be in our list of doctrines, but they are, and they actually made it in both the Methodist, Episcopal, and the EUB one, so it must be important. So this is the Methodist Episcopal one. And it says, the riches and goods of Christians are not common as touching the right, title, and possession of the same, as some do falsely boast. Notwithstanding, every man ought, of such things as he possesseth, liberally to give alms to the poor, according to his ability. So, you can see that they're talking about communal property, that is not a requirement of Christians. And maybe not even a good thing, communal property. But at least it's not a requirement. And we do see some sects that have communal property, and we even saw, like in Acts, in the early church, chapters 2 or 3, where it seems like there's communal property. But then as you keep going, you see that there's people have control over how much they give. If it's communal property, there's no giving. Everything is just owned by the community. So all you can do is give your service towards the community. So I want to say that as you go into the Bible, there's more to support private property rights than there is to support community property. But anyway, I think part of the reason why they said this is that you get to this next part where you say, as some falsely boast, and that it was almost a pride issue, that we're a better Christian because guess what? We don't even have our own private property. It's all communal. So I wonder if that was the reason why, if that's what they saw in some of the people at their time that were living communally. And then the next thing that caught my eye is that, all things considered, everybody should give generously and be generous. And it says to the poor, no mention of giving to the church, which is what I often preach, is that should be a high priority, but it's giving, and maybe you can make the argument that the church is poor, but it's really that idea of giving to the poor is the most important thing. So if you have private property, how are you using it to bless the poor? So I did think that was interesting. The next one is from the EUB, and it says, we believe God is the owner of all things, and that the individual holding of property is lawful and is a sacred trust under God. Private property is to be used for the manifestation of Christian love and liberality, and to support the church's mission in the world. All forms of property, whether private, corporate, or public, are to be held in solemn trust and used responsibly for human good under the sovereignty of God. And so this is a completely different take on the property rights. So it's bringing it all back to God is the owner. God is the owner of all things. Where the communal people might say that the church is the owner, but this one is saying God is the owner, and actually that is the overriding ownership stake. So everybody else is just holding it in trust under God. So that's it. And it even talks about it, whether it's private, corporate, or public, still. This is God's property, so how are you using it in a way to show love and generosity or liberality to support the church's mission? So at least they're talking about supporting the church, where the other one just talked about supporting the poor. This one doesn't talk about supporting the poor. Except for if you want to say love and liberality, that would probably also overflow onto the poor. But it is that idea that no matter how the property is held, whether it's privately held, corporately held, publicly held, it's all God's property, and should be used to advance the kingdom work. So whether that's the work through the church or just the work of love and liberality to all those around us, especially the poor. So very interesting take. The next one is on taking oaths. So I'll see you next week.